Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us in another episode of Cafecito and Conversation, otherwise known as Coffee and Conversation. I'm here with my guest, Sandra, or otherwise known as Sandra. And I'm so excited to have you here, Sandra. And we're just going to go ahead and jump in. And Sandra, can you tell everyone who you are?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited about this. So, my name is Sandra Hinojosa Ludwig, born and raised in Mexico, and after that, lived across the world, countries, but now my home is in Canada. And I'm a survivor of the corporate world. I worked in corporate world for about 20 years. Um, but about 4 years ago, I decided to figure out something else. So I became a coach and an author. I have a new book coming out in April, and that's what I've been up to for the last 4 years.
I love it. I can't wait to when the book releases. I'm so excited for you, Sandra. Like that is
Oh,
amazing. But we'll get into that a little bit later. I was so excited to talk to you today because I really wanted to pick your brain and learn more about the law of attraction. And so, can you start us off by just telling everyone what even is it?
yeah, so the law of attraction is a universal law, just like the law of gravity or the law of, transfer of mass or anything like that. So basically, what the law of attraction says is energy flows where attention goes. So whatever you put your attention in, that is what is going to manifest in your life. So anything you see around you
Okay.
started a thought, whether it is your home or your career or even this podcast. It started as an idea, you focus on it, you put some work into it, some aligned action, and then you manifest it, you make it happen.
Wow. Yeah, that's it. Thank you for sharing that. And so how did you even come across it? Because I always hear like The Secret, it's so popular.
Yeah.
I read the book and I got really intrigued with the whole concept, but I didn't know anyone yet to really coach me on it. And so this is why I was so excited to talk to you because how do you even start with the concept?
Well, the first time I didn't even know what I was looking at or what I was hearing. But so in 2006, I was working in the corporate world, and these corporate offices, they have these big like holiday parties and whatever. So I was at a beginning of the year party, and everyone was having a good time, and the CEO was buying drinks for everybody. So the CFO, the chief financial officer, he was quite drunk, and the
Oh my
office,
god.
I know, and the place where the party was quite far from my house, so I wasn't driving because I was drinking. So
Okay.
paying for a taxi was going to be extremely expensive. So I ended up catching a ride with one of my coworkers, and the drunken CFO was sitting next to me.
Oh
And then
wow.
he starts saying how our CEO is such a nice guy, he's amazing. And then he says, he used to complain about everything. He used to complain about the weather, the people he worked with, the people he didn't work with. And then one day he stopped complaining. And 5 years later, he's the president of the company. And
Wow.
I remember hearing that. And I'm like, well, what does that even mean? Like at that time, I was really frustrated at work. I had been fighting for a promotion for years that wasn't coming. I didn't have even a boyfriend. I I was poor as hell, and I'm like, so frustrating with life because I couldn't make it happen. And this guy says, well, this guy stopped complaining and then he was the president. And I'm like, I didn't know what to do with it, but I just kind of put it in the back of my mind. And then about a month later, a month or a couple of months, that's when the book of The Secret got launched.
Okay.
So I was working from home, which I don't even know why. And then I had the TV on, and these people are being interviewed about the law of attraction. And then they start saying, you can create your own reality. And when you feel good, you create good things in your life. And I'm like, well, that kind of matches what I heard from this other guy.
Right.
So as soon as I finish work, I'm like, Google law of attraction, found the movie, watched the movie, and it was the first version with these teachers called Esther and Jerry Hicks. They were on it. And of everyone that was in the movie, they were the ones that I identify myself with the most. So I looked them up on the web and found out they were going to be in my town. I was living in Toronto at that time. They were going to be in my town like a couple of weeks later.
Oh,
So I
wow.
signed up. I signed up. I spent the whole weekend just writing nonstop all the things that they were saying. And basically, it is that. Basically, it is life makes you ask a question. Life, you see something that could be different, that you wish could be different, and immediately you ask. And the universe immediately creates it for you. And then it's your job to manifest it.
Okay.
So everything from the ask to the creation, that's automatic. That happens. But now you need to bring it into reality. And that's where a lot of us get stuck. So it took me a while to figure out what that meant. But basically, the energy of the universe is the energy of well-being. So it's the highest energy there is.
Okay.
So when you wish for something in your life, you need to align with the energy of the universe to bring it forth. And what that means is you need to bring your energy up, like really, really up.
Okay.
Now, it's how you bring your energy up is making sure that you have thoughts that are of high energy, that align with what you want to bring into your life. But it's really hard because thoughts are really fast. They're like,
Right.
it would be like trying to hold water in between your fingers, like it will just go away.
Right.
So, so what you focus on is how you feel. Because when you're feeling good, you're having good thoughts. And when you're feeling good, you have high energy. So
Right.
that is how you bring things forward.
Wow, I'm getting goosebumps because I understand how it's all connected, and I kind of relate it to myself in the sense that my body talks to me, and I've learned the hard way when I don't deal with feelings or speak my truth, or I'm not walking in my truth, and I'm kind of misaligned, and maybe I'm feeling a little lost. Like I start off where there was this one time that I woke up and literally like my left arm, I couldn't move it. And I
Yeah.
couldn't figure why. And that was really the start of me realizing like how intertwined our bodies are and how we're connected with energy, and how just being able to find ways to stay in a high vibration and a low vibration. So I'm glad you actually touched on that. And I was hoping, can you talk a little bit more about that, about staying in a high vibration? Because I feel like, especially with the world being in a sensitive state right now with COVID, and just having now going through, we're headed into the winter season, right? Also, so I know I have a close circle that I have some friends that I know get really sensitive during seasons because there's no sun. And so, do you have any tips to offer to stay in that high vibration?
Well, and I think it comes back to, thank you so much for mentioning what happens to your body when you're not on
Mhm.
alignment. Because when you're not on alignment, you are blocking the well-being of the universe, and that manifests on things that you don't necessarily want to see in your life, or even manifest in disease. And I'm not saying that if you have a disease is because you thought bad thoughts, but I'm saying it could be easier if you align yourself. It helps your
Right,
body, it helps everything. So by no means I'm saying, whatever happened in your life, it is bad things because you manifested it. No, I'm just saying you're not completely letting the well-being of the universe happen.
right.
Um, so for example, imagine you're a tap of water.
Hmm.
So when the tap is completely open, all this abundance flows into your life, right? So imagine when the tap is open, tons of water are coming out. So that's
Hmm.
abundance flowing into your life. When the tap is closed, when it comes to the energy of the universe, the energy of well-being, the tap is never completely closed. There is always, even when you are completely not letting the good energy in, there's always a drip of well-being into your life. So even if you don't feel this ease and this peace, that's
Right.
what enjoy, peace and joy. That's what it feels like when you're aligned with the universe. So if you're not feeling peace and joy, that just means your tap is not completely open. So you need to focus on how to bring that feeling forward. But even if you're not feeling your best, there is always that trickle of well-being into your life. It's like a little drip, drop by drop,
Right.
always there is well-being. So what you do, this was something that Abraham Hicks says, and I'm a huge believer on that. If
Okay.
you have 99 good things in your life and one bad thing or one thing you don't like, and you focus on that one thing, all the other 99 things are going to start becoming not as good anymore.
Right.
But if you have 99 things you don't like so much in your life and one thing that is really good, and you focus on that one thing, everything else is going to start turning good. So energy flows where attention goes. So you will always have even the littlest of blessings in your life. So focus on those.
Right.
Count your blessings. That is a really good phrase. Count your blessings.
Oh,
Like
so good.
look
Yes.
for them in your life. Like constantly put attention into what is good in your life. And when you start focusing on what is good in your life, you move into a new energy. You move into the energy of gratefulness, you move into the energy of appreciation, and then you start feeling again that peace and joy, which means you're in alignment. And
Right.
when you do that, your energy starts going up. And also, the other thing I would like to say when it comes to energy is, especially, is like, okay, things are terrible right now. Like everywhere you look, something's happening, right? So how do you keep an energy when everything around you is almost like burning down? Don't react to life, respond to life. You can always
Mhm.
observe what's happening to you, but it doesn't mean you need to react to it. Like something happens in the news that makes you mad, and now you're mad the whole day. No, no, no. You can always decide
Right.
what you want your response to be. And you know what? Maybe you see something that is really sad, and you feel that sadness for a while, but then after a while you say, you know what can I do about this? How can I turn this around? Like for example, if you see something really bad that's happening, you guys are going through your election right now, and you get frustrated, so maybe you turn that energy into an energy of action of, you know what, I'm gonna ask all my neighbors that don't have cars, and I'm gonna drive them to the voting booth. So
Right.
now I have this energy of turning it around, right? Or maybe you notice that there is some people that don't have as many resources as you do, and you say, you know what, I'm going to turn it around. I'm going to help in a soup kitchen, or I'm going to
Mhm.
donate money, or I'm going to donate time, or so you figure ways to say, okay, this is what's happening, but this is what I choose to do.
Right.
This is what I'm going to respond. So that's a way to kind of keep your energy up. And then the other one is just do what makes you happy. So if singing makes you happy,
True.
dancing makes you happy, you're doing a podcast makes you happy. So that's what you do.
Right. No, that is so good. Oh, this conversation is going to get so good. I love it. I love it. So, definitely, if you're watching or you're listening, go grab your notebook and pen because we're going to drop some wisdom bombs on all of you. And I just absolutely am floored by this topic because, I really am a big fan of doing vision boards, but, I know that this is higher level than that. And I love that you said the visualization of the water, flowing because I always picture I want a river, I want a river falling and I want it gold and glitter and I want it to be just a beautiful like state of gold going all around me. And that's kind of like what I visualize. And it took me a long time to realize that when my body was talking to me, it was really saying that the flow was thought, that I had to kind of dig deep a little bit and figure out, okay, what is going on? And I had a friend that pointed it out to me one year that I wasn't in a really good flow around that time. And she said, Domenica, your makeup, the eyeshadow, I noticed that your eyeshadow is darker. I've noticed that your clothing is a little bit darker. And in my head, I thought, well, it's the season, it's winter, I'm going with the trend. That's automatically what I thought. But then that really stood out to me that somebody noticed that about me. And it really made me have an awareness that, wow, even when I shift colors in my attire, that really affects me. So not only does my body talk to me, but I, without knowing it, I was really putting myself in that low vibration state, because all of a sudden I was wearing black, I had dark burgundy, gray, silver eyeshadow, my lipstick was plum, and that was like a huge awareness for me. And so it was around the time that I really started to learn about the law of attraction and manifestation. And I know that I have so much more to learn. And when we were talking offline, it was really, I was really excited because, like I said, I didn't really know anybody that's been doing it. So, those are just things that I've learned along the way.
And that's great, because you know what? That's something actually I mentioned in one of the chapters of the book, which is we all have tells. So it's really hard. It's like the frog that's being boiled alive. Have you ever heard that? That if you put
No, okay, yeah.
that's actually not true, but that's a story many people say. Apparently, if you put a frog in water and you start heating up the water slowly, the frog never realizes that it's being boiled alive. But if you drop a frog in a pot full of boiling water, it will feel it. So it's really that gradual step that it doesn't feel. By the way, that's not true, but
Right.
that's something people say.
Right.
That's something people say. But sometimes, you are at this energy and you start going down and down. And it's so gradual that you don't feel. If you're here and you go here, like immediately, you feel it. You immediately know, oh my God, what's going on? Like I feel all yucky and I feel like things are not good around me. Like, what the hell? But then sometimes it's so slow that we get used to that lower level of energy and we don't notice. So something I've noticed with me is I have tells. I can
Okay.
tell when things are getting bad, and I usually catch it at that time. One is I start eating like crazy, pan dulce, nonstop.
Oh,
Or
oh, one dulce though.
I know it makes me happy, but then
Mhm.
also I start becoming very irritated. Like little things
Okay.
start me setting me off like crazy, right? So that's when I notice, okay, what is going on? And that actually makes me stop and take some time for myself and just kind of check in, like, okay, what's going on? And usually there is something that I'm ignoring, I'm not paying attention to. And once I pay attention to it and deal with it, that's when my energy again goes up. But
Okay.
like, for example, in your case, where you're saying that, your arm was starting to bother you, and,
Mhm.
you know, maybe that is a tell that you have that is saying, hey, Dominica, there is something that you need to pay attention to that is happening right now. We all
Right.
have tells, and we all have different tells. And over time, we kind of get to know them and get to catch them and be like, okay, something's going on with me because this is kind of crazy.
Right. No, that's so true. Literally just it happened out of the blue one evening. One morning I woke up and I literally couldn't move it.
Oh my
And
God.
I had gone to the ER, and they thought, the doctor, just by looking at me, said, "Oh, you probably broke it. What did you do?" And I was like, "I didn't do anything. I just woke up." And after x-rays are like, nothing is wrong. It looks like you have a frozen rotating cuff, I believe, in the shoulder. And I was like, well, what is it triggered? And he couldn't answer. Usually by a trauma, like if you fell on it. And I was like, nothing happened. I literally, the only thing I did was go to bed and I woke up like that. But again, being able to have these awarenesses and being able to study a topic like the law of attraction and digging a little bit deeper with manifestation, it has given me the gift and the ability to dig a little bit deeper and take a step back and say, oh, wait a minute, something's misaligned here.
Yeah.
Look, I love writing in my journal and capturing, the day. I like celebrating daily wins. And so that's how I bring my vibration back up is, writing down in gratitude what went well, what was a win for me. And that art and that practice has made me like, I can go back to these pages and see like, oh, I missed it. This is where I went wrong. And this is why I'm feeling this way. Let's correct it and get back to that higher vibration.
And I think eventually the law of attraction kind of becomes a practice where you figure out what works for you. You mentioned, for example, vision boards and, journaling. So there are a variety of tools that we can use to help us keep our energy high, to help keep our focus on what we want, not what we don't want. Because when we focus on what we don't want, that's what we attract. When we focus on what we want, that's what we attract. So it helps us keep that positive mindset. Don't say, I want to lose weight. Say, I want to be a healthy weight. Those kinds of
That's
things.
so true. It's a good point.
Yeah. So there are a variety of tools that will help you keep the focus on what you want, that will help you keep yourself in a high energy. What works for me might not work for you. What works for you might not work for someone else. But over time, you start realizing, okay, this is what works for me. I know one of the things, for example, that I did when I first started doing the law of attraction is completely stop watching news. News affect me so much, and I was probably the most ignorant person in the world because I didn't know what was happening. But they lower my energy so much. That's one thing that I'm very conscious of what is it that I let come into my vibration. And if
Right.
something really upsets me, I don't watch movies that scare me because I get too scared easily. And so I try to be very, very mindful of what is it that I do to keep my vibration high. And I have bad days. Everyone does. And even Abraham tells you that you were never supposed to be happy all the time. Because what happens is your ask, which is the number one step in the law of attraction, comes when you see something that you will want different. And if you're always happy, you will never want anything different. So
Okay.
it's actually not a bad thing that life is a little bit like this, because when you
Right.
are in the down, that's when you create desire, and desire is what moves you forward, moves life forward, and brings in new creations. And now you're in a different perspective because now you have something that you created, and now you can see what you want next and what you want next. So actually it's okay that life is not a straight line. It's okay that it's like this. That's
Right.
just where creation happens.
No, that is so true. You raised some really good points. And I like to interpret that as declaring a revolution against conformity. So that is
Yes.
for a whole nother episode. But really, when you get me to start talking about that topic, I get going. And really, it's just having the ability to keep not settling, striving for more. And this is like life's way to give you a little nudge and saying, for me, Dominica, nope, I expect more from you. That little tap, that little heartstring pull, and really that nudge of not letting me settle. And I like to rise up to the challenge. And so, often you'll find me talking about that specific thing in general, because it's big. It's big when you start to say, hey, I accept the call. I accept that I want more out of my life. I know what I'm worth. I know what I bring to the table. But again, it's not always perfect. Some days are better than others, but I really like the analogy of like a bell curve, of having that push to say, okay, wait a minute, I'm not so good right now, but I can lift myself back up. And these are the things that I'm aware that will make me feel better and make me go back up like that, for sure.
Yeah, very mindful. And by the way, I love what you were saying about revolution against conformity. That gives me goosebumps
Yeah.
because it's like, yeah.
No, right? Yeah. I have a really good example about that, or a good story. So I had a friend, and I attribute him really igniting that declaration with my life, because he said, I was in transition, really was looking to, in the corporate job that I had, to move up. At that time, I really thought that that's where I was going to be. And there was an opportunity to get a job with, one of the management team that I work with. It was she was like my ideal leader to work with, and I was going to be with her and in this nice big window office, and I was all excited because I had, the qualifications and the years, but I didn't get the job.
Mm.
And the person who had the job, um total polar opposite of myself, and I had people come up to me and say, Dominica, what happened? Everybody thought this was your job and this and that, and I was just like, I don't know what happened. And so I was talking to a friend about it, and he said, Dominica, he started asking me questions, and he said, you deserve, this is the way that life is telling you that you deserve a life outside of these four walls that you thought were it for you. And I was like, what do
Yeah.
you mean? No, this is it. And he said, no, I want to challenge you to think of a thought. Analyze, visualize who's in your break room. And so he said, come on, tell me who's in your break room. And I started listing the people who, when I would walk in my break room, who I would see and how long they've been working there, their characteristics. Did they move up in positions or have they been in the same position? And I come from an educational background. So I told him, I said, oh, you just blew my mind, because I realized some of the people that I've been working with are repeating the same year that they started teaching. And I know that because I would mentor a lot of educators in this job. And it was like, we're doing the same thing that we did in year one. And now it's like 20 years later in this position. There's something wrong, right? And
Yeah.
so he made me realize, like, and I'm not saying it's a wrong thing to do. I think it's all aligned with, who is your leadership team, who's training you, does the organization have funds for that? It's just, there's so many factors to it. But he made me realize, like, I don't want to settle. I want to push myself. And he asked me the ultimate question. He said, is everyone there younger than you or older? So, because if you answer older, there's a slight chance that more positions will come up because they're retiring. And I said, well, what if they're all the same age? And he said, then you're going to really have to think about if this is what you want, because by the time they retire, you're going to retire. And so that was really what sparked the thought of, Dominica, okay, I can rise up to declaring a revolution against conformity, and always try to like self-analyze and say, Dominica, okay, is this where you see yourself? Does this make you happy? And now that you mentioned that earlier, right? That is key, because if you're not happy with what you're doing, then it's going to be a very long time for you in whatever environment you're at.
And I think life really helps us to see what is it that we want. Like if you had gotten that job, you will maybe still be at that job. You
Right.
maybe wouldn't have done all these other things, right? So sometimes the answer of the universe, when something doesn't happen the way you want it, is not, the answer is not no. The answer is not this.
Right. So true. So
And
good, Sandra.
yeah,
Yes.
isn't it? Like I've had so
Yeah.
many like that in my life where it's like, no, not this. And at the time, you have your heart set in that, right? Because you think that's what you want. But that's another thing, maybe very important about the law of attraction. So when you focus on, and this is something I've learned as well over time. I'll tell you a quick story, but when you focus on what you want, once you have an idea what you want, now take it one step back and ask yourself, why do I want that?
Mm,
Because if what the reason you want that is to show your neighbor, or to so your mom has someone to brag about, or maybe because you want to show people how good you are, that's not an authentic desire. but
that's
what
true.
but when you're wise, because this is a bigger calling, this is what makes me happy. Why do you want a bigger house? So that all my children have the experience of having their own space and we can spend this time together. Why you want a new car? So I feel safe. So when you focus on your why, and that's what you really visualize, your why, how you're going to feel when you have it, you give permission to the universe to surprise you. Because when you say, I want this and I want this and I want this, the universe might say, but I have something better for you. Let me show you. So maybe sometimes taking a step back and focusing on the why. Um, I can tell you a quick story. For a long time, I thought I was ready to get married. I had my
Okay.
boyfriend, and I kept saying, I want a ring, I want a ring. So I started visualizing a ring.
Okay.
I'm going to get engaged. I started visualizing a ring. And then one day, I'm walking in the middle of Chicago, and I found a ring on the ground.
You did?
So I pick up the ring and I look up and I'm like, that's what I had in mind. But that
Right.
made me realize that it's so important to focus not on the thing, but focus on the why. And why is
Right.
it that you're looking for? Then I changed my perspective and I started focusing on, I want a relationship, I want a partnership, and I want to be with someone. And that's when then everything happened the way I wanted it. So it's really good
That's
also
a
to
good story.
I know it's one of my best stories, and I still have that ring as a reminder of take a one step back. Don't focus
Right.
exactly on I want that exact thing right now. No, focus on why. Why do I want that? And
Right.
then you let the universe bring you the best answer because our perspective is really small. The perspective of the universe is huge. So you might think this is the perfect solution for you, but the universe is like, no, girl, no, I know better. You deserve more.
No, that's so true. I have a similar story, and I was invited to a very elaborate fundraiser, and I was so excited because in my world, in my head, I thought, Dominica, okay, this is it. This is where the crowd that you want to be a part of. I was really trying to work on my business, and I was so excited. I was going to go with a great group of friends, and the theme was a circus. And I'm going to give you the Cliff Notes version. Otherwise, we'll be here another hour. But they went all out with the theme. And literally, I got emotional because I can remember a particular spot where I was just standing back and taking it all in because I've never been a part of a fundraiser like that. This is where people were dishing out 20 grand, 10 grand, 5 grand for different auction items. And it was like, wow, this is not my world, but I'm
Yeah.
here, and let's see why I'm here. And so I was having this moment, and magician comes up to me and he does a magic trick, and he gives me a small penny. And we just connected over this penny, and he started telling me a little bit about how he started being a magician, and then he left. And it was just a very gratifying moment, and it was literally a moment of pure joy because he came and I was like a little girl. He did a magic trick and I was just in awe. And then all of a sudden I had this small little penny in my hand. And so that night progressed and it ended, and it was fabulous. The food was great. The entertainment was great. And I had this sweet little memory in exchange that, the magician gave me with the penny. And I decided to put in a little locket, which I have hanging in my room, to remind myself. It was like when I came home and was trying to figure out where to put it, I had this like revelation in the sense of, Dominica, your mindset is really low right now. Why wouldn't you expect something like this? And the penny, I really was a gift in the sense of like, don't have a one penny mindset, have an abundant
Oh, I
mindset.
love that.
Right. And it
Yeah.
kind of like came to me of, don't think you don't deserve this and so much more. Like this was like a message I feel that went straight to me. And ever since that specific event, like from then on forward, there was all these invites and like tickets that I would get to go to these different galas. And every time I would go to an event, I would have the bracelet with the locket in reverse, so nobody can see it. And I had my penny there just as a reminder. And I'm so grateful for that moment because much like the ring, it's like, well, I wasn't expecting a message like that with the penny, but it was like lightning bulbs, And so
And I think many times as Latinas, we kind of doubt ourselves. I don't belong here. This is not my world. But no, it is. It is.
Right.
We really, anything we can or want is is within us to create it. I in my Instagram account yesterday I posted something around what's the biggest manifestation have you ever done? It was actually me carrying the Olympic torch for Vancouver 2010. I really, really, really wanted to carry the Olympic torch.
Okay.
So I applied to every single event, every single contest that there was, and lo and behold, I got to carry the Olympic torch.
You did
So
it.
I know I grew up in Monterrey, Mexico. Why am I doing this? Why am I carrying the Olympic torch for a Winter Games? But because
Wow.
I wanted, and I could create it, and
Right.
so we really it's really changing
Amazing.
our mindset because you cannot create what you don't believe you deserve.
Right.
You can only create what you believe you deserve. If you believe you deserve to be in all these galas, you will attract them into your life.
Right.
But
No, that is
if
so
you don't
good.
believe you do, you won't. If I believe I can carry the Olympic torch, I will carry the Olympic torch.
Right. And you did. And that's
And
like,
I did.
you did.
I know. It's so
So it
crazy.
was this for 2010 in Canada?
Yeah, it was the Winter Olympics in Canada. It was in 2010, and I was living in Canada, and
Okay.
my company was one of the sponsors, and they
Okay.
had like this contest in the company, and I'm
Okay.
like, I'm gonna win it for sure, and
Yeah.
I didn't win it. So I
Okay.
came home all sad, and I told my husband, he was my boyfriend at the time, and I say,
Mhm.
um, I didn't win. And I was convinced I was going to win it because I did the law of attraction. And he
Right.
said, well, there are other contests, Sandra. So I applied to every contest I found. And I ended up winning a contest and carrying the
Wow.
torch. So it's another message about the law of attraction, which is sometimes life will send you um, s- signs. So, for example, the sign that I was in the right path to carry the torch, which was my desire, was the fact that there was a contest in my company.
Right.
You
That
know,
right.
so
That's so true.
even though I didn't win that contest, that wasn't the contest I was supposed to win. That was just a sign that it's like, hey, you're in alignment. You know, when you start with, for example, you want a new car and you're looking at brands and you're saying, you know what, I would really like this specific, like a Honda CRV. And all of a sudden you start seeing CRVs everywhere. And that is because the universe starts sending you signs. So many times we see a job, we think it's a perfect job, we apply to the job, and then we don't get the job. And then
Right.
we're like, law of attraction doesn't work, and that's why things don't happen for me. No, no, no. That wasn't your job. There was a sign that you
Right.
were getting so close to the perfect job. So your job is to say, all right, that's my sign. So even if you don't get the job, the fact that it's so perfect for you, that's a huge sign from the universe that you're getting really, really close. So that's even more incentive to keep your energy up and to keep going because what you want is just around the corner. So in this case for me, that contest wasn't my contest to win, but that was a reminder that there was something waiting for me. And I was kind of down, and my boyfriend reminded me of that, and then it just helped me bring back my energy to, you know what, I'm gonna give it my all. I'm gonna give it my all. And sure enough, I won it.
Oh, wow, that is amazing. That is so amazing. I can't even like the feeling it must have felt to hold it and know
Yes, it was
it.
quite unique. Yeah.
Yeah. And no, I asked because around that time there was a I think it was before December, but I definitely was in Canada around that time because I still have the t-shirt with the Winter Olympics because we were sightseeing and can't remember, but I came home with my Winter Olympics Canada t-shirt, and so that's amazing.
It is. It is.
Wow. Well, and how do you mentioned something earlier that I feel like, oh, this is so good. We're gonna have to talk about this. So going from Mexico to Canada, And I know you've been in lots of different places in the last couple of years, but how does your family, do they understand the law of attraction? Did they receive it well?
Yeah. So, for example, my husband,
Okay.
at the beginning, he didn't quite like, what's she doing? But then he started seeing all the things coming into my life. Like, I told you I wanted a promotion. Like, a promotion came to my life within a year. And within a couple of years, I was offered, no, actually within 5 years, I was offered to move to England for work. And,
Okay.
so, and then him and me, we got married. I bought a house. Like, all the things that for so long felt stuck, they just started happening in my life. And now, if I'm having a bad day, my husband is the one your energy is low.
Really?
He's the one that reminds me. So he understands it. I think my siblings understand it as well. And I always say, when it comes to the law of attraction, I talked about it, but some people might not be ready to receive it, and that's fine. The best I can do is live my best life, and that's what I tell people as well. Live your best life, and then one day people are going to look at you and they're going to be like, why is she so happy? Why is
Mhm.
she getting everything she wants?
Mhm.
And that's when they start getting curious, and then they're going to come to you and be like, so what are you doing different? And that's why I always say,
So good.
sometimes advice or like you should be doing this, it doesn't work as strongly as actually living your best life,
Right.
because that's when others look at you and are like, what is different about you, because there is something happening with you. And that is the opening where you can say, well, let me tell you about the universe.
Right. No, that is so good. Oh my gosh, Sandra. So we are headed towards the end of our
I
conversation.
know.
I know. And this topic is so good. And I know Sandra definitely will have you back on, and because I feel like there's so much to say about this topic, and I just want to share it with everybody because I asked that question because coming from a Latino family and very traditional, and so when I mention things like this, I'm getting the evil eye, like, Domenica, what are you talking about? Like, ¿qué? No entiendo. And so, it's always a form of curiosity for me to see how, when you're really passionate about something and you're really studying it, how family takes it. And, you know, um, and so, yes, I always find it kind of interesting because I know for me, it always takes a lot for me to explain what I'm doing. I'll have to share my Harvard story another time, but when I was letting my mom and dad know that I was going to speak at Harvard, that was, I was getting the evil eye because why are you traveling alone? Being a single female going across country. So we'll dive into that completely another episode. But Sandra, thank you so much. Is there
Thank
anything
you.
that we didn't touch on that you want to share? And then when you answer that question, will you close us with sharing how everybody can connect with you too?
Yeah, and just a quick reminder that it does work. I've
Mhm.
seen it in my life. I started doing this in 2006. It's 14 years, and it works every time. Just be patient with the universe. Whatever you want is on its way. And if it is not happening now, it's because it's not the right time. So be patient and trust. And when you surrender, your life will turn around for sure. And then, yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Sandra Hinojosa Ludwig, same in Facebook. And then keep an eye as well, because my book is coming out in April 2021, one of my latest manifestations.
Yes.
And my book is being published by Hay House, and it's called Chica Why Not. So I actually wrote it for Latinas about how to create a life that loves you back. So I hope I keep seeing everyone around my page, and hopefully I get to share my book with them as well.
I love that. Super exciting. Thank you, Sandra, for joining
Thank
us
you.
in another episode of Cafecito and Conversation. Again, as we close, my name is Domenica Escatel, and you can find us also online and definitely keep engaging with us. Have this conversation. Leave us a comment on our YouTube channel. We will post, if you're watching us through Roku, we will post all these videos on the YouTube channel so you can engage and ask more questions for Sandra. We'll make sure that we get those questions to her, and then we'll have her answer them. And so definitely connect with us and any social media platform as well under Chicana Inc. So again, thank you for joining us in another episode of Cafecito and Conversation, and we'll be seeing you. Bye, everyone.